reference views. Okay, so I have this reference view, so that's going to clean up my my work area over here with the objects menu. All right, so now next thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting the brown part set up with the actual camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back to this perspective view, and I'm going to select my object, my camera body. I'm going to go to the face tool. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the knife tool. Now here I want to go ahead and make sure that I'm selecting the loop. If you're ever using the knife tool and you notice that it is giving you problems where it is not cutting the loop, you might have to check the create engines off. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I am going ahead and I am making a loop around both sides right here, so that it's going to line up as best as I can to this little section right here, this little section right here, and that little section right there, and so on right there. Now, what we might also do here is I might add a cut loop right here, just because this is so thick that if I try to bring it in, it's going to give me some weird artifacting, and it's not going to look as good with this little turn down with the actual thing. Okay, so now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting the brown part to kind of have like a little bit of a bevel or a lip to it. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a holding line right here and a holding line right here. And the reason why I'm doing that is so that I can bring this vertices, which is right here, this vertice right here, and I can bring that in to help create this little curve or an arch going on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep creating the holding lines for the other ones, the other corners. So that one I only needed to do one because I created the bottom one for that part already. This one I only need to do one also, and then this one's already created because it's just the way it works out. Alright, so the way that all of these curves work on the inside part, they all look like they have relatively the same amount of curvature. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to perspective view, and I'm going to create another material, and I'm just going to throw this white on there so that I can see a little bit better what I'm going on. So I'm going to go ahead and select the vertices and get my selection tool or the translate tool. I'm going to select these corners right over here like that, and right there, right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same. I'm going to select the same vertices, but on the back side. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because it is exactly the same on each side. The only difference is what's actually on the brown plating of it, but the actual brown part of it is the exact same. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the side view. I'm going to get rid of this texture, and I'm going to take the scale tool. Now the way I'm using the scale tool is just to kind of bring them together. So you're not really scaling vertices, but you're moving them in a way that they are going to kind of scale towards each other. So they're going to come towards each other. Think of it like you have different points, and you're just going to kind of bring them all together with like a magnet. All right. Now I know that as we look over here that it looks like it's going to be not on it 100%, But if I get it on there right there, what I'm seeing right here is that it's really just a flat edge. So I'm going to bring it in just out just a little bit. So I know it's not 100%, but that's perfectly fine, because what we want is to create a roundness to it, and not so much as it have to be 100%. Okay, so now that I have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on getting that little bit of a lip to it. So I'm going to go ahead and select my face tools, and I'm going to select, get in the perspective view, and I'm going to select, sorry, alright, deselect this stuff. I'm going to put the material on there so it's better for you guys to see, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to select these faces that are going to be in the middle, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now what you're going to see as I'm selecting these, that these corners are actually brought in, and they're going to be exactly the same as this side. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and actually I'm going to work on this in the perspective view. And what I'm going to do is I'm first going to take a extrude inner, and I'm just going to extrude in just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. And now what this is going to do is that if I ever want to bring it into like a sub D look, it's going to hold it to give that more, preserve that edge to it. Now if I want to go ahead and let's say if I bring it in and I notice it's not a sharp enough edge, it's a little bit too round, I can actually go in there with a knife tool and then make a loop, and it will go around this whole thing because it will loop around, just the way that the flow of the geometry works. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to take the extrude, and I am going to extrude in just a tiny bit to make a holding line, and that's going to work exactly the same as the holding line for this particular edge. So you actually need it for both sides, just to give that particular holding edge for it to look sharp on both sides. Alright, so now that I have that done, I'm going to extrude it in again, and at this point in time it doesn't really matter how deep you want to go, but I like to go relatively deep, especially since I don't have to worry about anything going in or intersecting with it. So now that I have that, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an inner extrude, and I'm just doing a really tiny one. Now that I have that, I'm going to have a little bit of, it's going to have a little bit of space. I'm going to go ahead and do another extrude, and I'm going to extrude it out just enough so that it's going to be probably right by where the holding lines are going to be, but it's not going to be flush. So I want to have, when I go ahead and render it, I have this nice lip. And the reason why I have that lip now is because of the fact that it's actually in just a little bit. And you're gonna it's gonna give you more of a defined edge on this thing to itself. You probably don't necessarily have to do it that way. That's the kind of way I like to do it with 3D modeling. I like to give it a little bit of an edge. It gives you more abilities to do other things, and plus it works a little bit better when you actually go ahead and smooth things out. Alright, so now that we have that, I'm going to do one more extrude inner, just to make sure everything's working fine. Alright, so now that I have this set up, you're going to see that's going to be set up on both sides, and that's a nice start for where we're at with this itself. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take off this solid just so that I can see through it. I'm going to go on the side, and now I'm going to try to work on getting these. I'm gonna work on bringing these edges in to the actual object. So we're going to go ahead and select the lines, and since the curvature on this side is a little bit different than the ones on this side, not by a whole lot, but it's enough that you can actually go ahead and just select one side to actually go ahead and scale. So we're going to select this one, and then we're going to select this one right here. And what this is going to do is you're selecting the edge, and we're gonna work with modeling with this edge, but it's actually going to go ahead and it's going to be moving these vertices that it's connected to. So pretty much modeling is really all about moving vertices around. It's just what level of vertices are you going to work with? Are you going to work with single vertices? Are you going to work with 2 or more vertices? Or are you going to work with multiple vertices, as a face would be? Okay, so we got these, and what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a scale, and I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. And then I'm going to get my translate out, alright, and there we go, we got that working. Now we do see some weirdness going on with this object as it is. Probably because I probably could have got, alright, that's because of these edges. So as you can see, when I did that, I have some weirdness with these particular edges. What this is an n-gon that's going on right here. So if I go ahead and select the face, faces, you're going to see this is how this n-gon's working. Now, what we can do is if I go ahead and look at these edges, we can probably bring these edges down a little bit too. So we're going to go ahead and go to our edge mode. I'm just going to do these one at a time. I could probably do this one too. So I'll just do opposite ones on this particular edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and scale it down a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and select this other edge. And then I'm going to scale it, this one. And I'm probably going to bring this one in just a little bit. And right, I'm going to go ahead and go into this perspective view. I'm going to see what's going on here. Alright, that's a weird edge. So we can, or a weird, this is the n-gon. So the reason why it's doing this is because it's actually not knowing how to display a polygon correctly. If you have something that goes in, this is kind of like a concaved edge, so we're just going to bring this in ever so slightly. There we go. I don't think this one happened up here on this side. No, it did just a little bit. So maybe go ahead and bring this out just a little bit. I'll bring this out. Oops. What is going on here? Okay, so this edge right here is the one that's causing the problem. So we just bring this out, so it pops out just a little bit. There we go. And now what we're going to see with the silhouette is that we have a nice round looking edge as it is already. And that's going to look really good when I go ahead and add it to a sub D. So just so we can kind of see how it's going to look, go ahead, throw it into a sub D, that it is not